on the opposite side of the political spectrum.
What I'm talking about.
Yeah, but Jane does not get along. But here, the Jewish people are almost from the get-go to the Jewish clubhouse. Now, I do remember a few years ago, I'm notorious for like opening up rooms, and I'd fall asleep, and then there was one
Jewish community. That was all people just saying he needs to change his behavior, and he needs to.
But she doesn't speak for all Jews, like with all due respect.
Well, I'm just telling you what they said.
If I told you to respond for the white community, what percentage of white people would say that's appropriate? Like that's silly.
But are they white? They're not white.
No, I'm saying if the white community, white Gentile community, they're not Gentiles.
Well, I'm just saying, that's what she said. He needs to apologize to the Jewish community, and we need to see some change in his behavior.
But she does not have do you really, Jesus Christ, when I first joined this app, there was like a huge divide between Jews. You had one space that tended to be a little bit more left-leaning and one that was a little bit more right-leaning. And they did not like each other. They kicked each other out of rooms. They trash-talked each other whenever they got the chance. They just did not get along. So which side are the real Jews? Okay, but which side are the real Jews?
Well, they have a lot of private that you're probably not even privy to.
No, I've listened to the shit they fight about. It's like literally the same shit we fight about.
I mean, that's fine.
What private spaces? What secret Jew spaces do they have? Where are their secret Jew spaces?
That are exclusive, private, just for them, not for anyone else.
Where?
On the app.
Yeah, there's like private rooms.
Just like
we all can have
we have private spaces. It's not privy to everybody.
Sure.
Same thing.
But you're acting like, I don't know if you've met Shooky. You could get, holy shit. There was Darren, there's Harry, Balzac, he goes by. There's the guy I met, Epi Menendez. He's no longer on this app, hasn't been for like a year and a half.
El Normo.
Well, I would say El Normo's more like a talk to each other.
Well, that space that I was in, Norm didn't say anything. It was some other Jews.
But but he's not like what I would consider right wing, or especially not far right. He's just classic liberal. He's going to be. I mean, if you're somebody who goes with like, I guess a lot of I don't know, rhetoric from the last 10 years or so on the left, he's probably going to not agree with you and fight back a lot. But he does the exact same thing to people on the further on the right. He's a very consistent individual.
I'm a swinger. I don't stand just on any party. I swing. Like, you haven't heard of swing states? I swing. If the policy benefits me and my family, I will swing to the right. If the policy benefits me and my family and my community, I will swing to the left.
You're not swinging to the right or the left. You're basically choosing the option. So I would say options. What's right or left?
I can give you this explanation. I believe that a man and a woman should have a family, but I also believe that a woman has the right to do what the fuck she wants to do with her body. That's kind of like in the middle.
For sure. I'm like in Arizona, if I can recall correctly, I don't know if Howard knows, I believe the majority of people are independent. And so they mostly make up the people in the center. And I'm somebody who which I kind of thought was fun at the time. I would be like the one right-wing person. Everybody would say is like far right, a Nazi, whatever. That is like, which I'm against. I would say I'm pro-choice. And even economically, I'm not a right-wing person. I'm not a libertarian. I'm not. If anything, I would say I would resemble Democrats economically in some ways.
There are some Democratic libertarians. Like, you got, I don't know, there was...
Not really.
Yeah, there are.
No.
Yeah, you can be for small government and be a capitalist and still believe women should do what the fuck they want to do with their body.
But
libertarian...
And
not believe in gerrymandering. I would call that a Democratic libertarian. That's my opinion.
Now, libertarian takes on both.
We have people on this app that's all they do is talk about capitalism, small government. But when you talk about abortion, I believe women should be able to do whatever they want to. So are you far right or what? What the fuck are you?
Well, no, so libertarians will believe that you can socially, I guess you can say they would be considered because they're more so live and let live. You want to become trans, you want to have an abortion, you want to do a lot of stuff that particularly the religious right is going to push back against. That is where they're so different from conservatives. Conservatives want to hold these social norms, whereas what is very different about everybody on the right and libertarians, or I should say everybody that's conservative and libertarians, is that all of that social stuff they don't care about.
They don't, but I've heard some people on this app that say, I'm a libertarian, all this and that. But when the conversation of abortion comes about, they're like, oh no, well, I think women should do whatever they want to do with their body. I believe abortion is health care. I believe that our health insurance...
It is in a way, for being honest.
I believe these are a person that or something where they should be able to be liberated and whatever they want to do. I'm swinging that way. However, as a tax-paying person that is middle class, we all know middle class is damn near obsolete. You're almost fucking poor if you're middle class now, okay? And it pisses me off when I see people who are sitting around on their ass every day, and I'm a black woman, divorced, working my ass off. I have a master's degree, went to college, had kids, worked 2 and 3 jobs, caught public transportation, worked my ass off to get to where I am now. And motherfuckers just want to sit around and smoke blunts all day and fuck like rabbits and have more kids and think that I'm supposed to take care of them. I have a problem with that. And there is a lot of waste in some of these social programs.
I get what you're saying, but I think you kind of have to look at it a little differently, in my opinion. Those people you're referring to that you would consider drain on the system, sure. But if you see economically, where is the wealth going in America? It's going to the top. The redistribution of wealth, and this is something I've kind of it's always pissed me off for the last 20 fucking years, and it's increasingly being exacerbated. And I saw something like a year ago that just fucking enraged me. So investment firms or private equity firms, they're preying on the most vulnerable people. You have people who live in trailer parks, for example. These are people that have oftentimes fixed incomes. They're retirees, that obviously don't have much of an income to come in. They're buying up these properties. They all of a sudden will double the rent. They're extremely efficient at making it so that, and of course it's rent for the lot and the community homeowners association there, or whatever they would call it at a trailer park, and they are then saying they're basically making it, they've streamlined it so well that as soon as you cannot pay, they just kick you right the fuck out. And they're pros at it. They are now bleeding anyone and everyone they can of money, including the most vulnerable people in the United States. Now, libertarians are the type of people who would say like, well, it's a non-aggression principle. We're just, that's just how it works. This is how life is. No, okay. It sounds like it sounds psychopathic to me.
Yeah,
and I would say capitalism.
They're okay with a lot of exploitation, but we all know that's one of the biggest.
Okay, but the most exploitative.
That's one of the biggest concepts of capitalism.
Sure.
Exploitation.
Okay, I get it, but what a lot of people.
It doesn't matter what.
Okay, hold on. What a lot of people don't realize is the exploitation that happens from the top. Okay, the people. It used to be that you could work for a company, you would get an actual fucking retirement fund. You could put aside. It was the benefits you could afford to raise a family. Now I understand. Like after World War II, we were not competing globally with other countries. A lot of things. The United States saw its golden days that I don't think we can really reach again because of the circumstances, but. I would say corporate greed, and who are the goddamn, who are the people that are literally the donors for the Democrats and the Republicans? They're wealthy people. Why did Donald Trump, he said, he didn't cut, he basically signed the big, beautiful, retarded fucking bill that's going to put us further in debt.
You mean the revised Project 2025? Because that's all the fuck it is.
I wouldn't quite
go
all
there.
The
fuck it is.
Not really.
Let's be honest.
No, but what he did is he basically he's going to make sure that the people in the circles that he runs in personally are going to benefit from it because ultimately he answers to them. That's who he cares about pleasing. I mean, Donald Trump is a despicable piece of fucking shit. Like, he's not, number one, I don't think he's a conservative. He ran on a populist platform. He's a self-aggrandizing, narcissistic piece of shit. Like, I really have very little respect about Donald Trump. But here he is. He passes this huge fucking bill that will saddle our country with more fucking debt. And how does he pay for it? Oh, well, he drove he posed in a McDonald's uniform. He posed in a goddamn driving a garbage truck. But hey, you white trash pieces of shit that live in rural America who barely are scraping by.
Oh.
Guess what? They're going to take it. Hold on.
No, I didn't know.
Hold on.
Because you guys make it.
Hold on.
Like all white
Let
people
me finish. Your piece, let me finish. No, most white people are not wealthy. Only a small percentage of white people are wealthy. Now, with that being said, he wants to slash like 17 million people from Medicaid. And I remember listening to the excuses these fucking trust fund brats would give, regarding, why they should just, if you're living at home and just smoking pot and playing video games all day, you need to get your ass to work. You shouldn't be being funded by Medicaid. Motherfucker, people cannot afford new fucking homes. This is so fucking different from prior generations. They cannot find new homes. People are not having fucking children. Like what is happening? Like, you need to look out for the average, everyday goddamn American. I do not give a shit about his closest fucking friends. I love the advancements. I'm not a communist. I'm not a socialist or anything like that. But at the end of the day, like even Henry Ford, which, he had a lot of extreme views, but one I would respect, and some people would say that it was like, he didn't really mean it. But at least what he expressed was that, like, I do not want to make a car that is like beyond reach, financially, of one of my factory workers. It's like I do think that you should. And Japan's society was a lot different. Japan. Hold on a second.
Him quoted that he doesn't want
cars they cannot afford.
Oh, okay, I got
the opposite. So even when it came to Japan, they have a much different. They're much different than us, which is very interesting from like a sociological perspective. These are people that everything is central to the worker. So, like, if you, for example, get convicted of a crime and go to prison, it's because you do not know how to be a good worker. When it came to a company failing, the cuts came top then bottom, not to the bottom first. You failed as a leader. What is held sacred in Japan is the worker. And so as long as they're being good workers and the people at the top, they made bad decisions, their pay goes first. Period. There's like that was sacrament to Japanese society. And I think at the end of the day, and even going back 20 years ago, we listened to the term golden parachute. You give these CEOs obnoxious amounts of fucking money. They fuck everything up. They lay off a bunch of hardworking, everyday fucking Americans, and then they give this piece of shit a fucking parachute. Like, this is, like, how is that even conservative? It's fucking stupid.
Your example of Japan's a really good one, and I believe it was the Nissan CEO. Because of his mismanagement, they put him in jail. I think he's still serving his sentence.
Well, there's whispers that Nissan merged with Honda.
Well, let him finish.
Have y'all heard that?
Sure, your piece, let him finish.
So, here's the thing, like, I work for a Japanese company, and Pepe's right, like, a couple years ago, I guess Nintendo had a flop on, like, one of their products, their sales were way down. The CEO will cut his pay in half. And I think it was Japanese Airlines, Japan Airlines, they had a bad year. The CEO cut his pay to like $100,000. Like,
that's you.
Toyota, their CEO makes like $2.5 million, but he gets about $4 million in dividends, which are only taxed at 15%. But Mary Barra, who runs General Motors here in Michigan, where I'm at, makes $30 million. And Toyota's never had a year where they were not profitable. And in Japan, the CEO just sits at a cube with everyone else. It's not like they have the big corner office. It's not like that at all.
That's a social thing, though.
Yeah, but in Japan, the worker is expected to be completely loyal to the company.
I need more
And
of
they're
your hair.
expected to act in the best interests of the company. The idea of going on strike, well, I don't know about that, but I'm speculating that the idea of going on strike would be abhorrent to them because, oh my God, it would damage the country. You don't have that kind of loyalty here in the United States. It's always us against them, us against, they're trying to screw us over, so we're going to screw them over. And it's an adversarial relationship, whereas in Japan, they see themselves as you're all part of this family, if I can use that term, and everybody's expected to do their part. So yeah, I agree with you, Pepe, but you can't leave out the other part of it. It's not just that the CEOs are held more accountable. Yeah, that.
Everybody's held more accountable. Like,
yeah,
in other words,
yes.
they, like I said, like their criminal justice system. This person does not know how to be a good worker. That is, which is so foreign to us, obviously, a very, very foreign culture. But they ended up, after World War II, we guided them. I don't think they were technically part of the Marshall Plan, but they ended up adopting an economic system somewhat similar to that of the West. But I think because of their culture, they ended up having, in a way, I think it's a good thing. I mean, the standard of living in Japan is so much better than for the most part, it's been in the United States. Low crime, good health care, You know, just the standard of living in general. It's a lot better than what you would find here, or
I just want
even in a lot of Western countries.
In reference to what Alan just said, and I'm gonna close with this. I'm gonna get back out in these clubhouse streets. The last thing, I enjoy you guys, but Bernie Sanders. I hate to bring up Bernie, but he brought the burn when he was running for office. He was the only one that really had a structured movement for the working class people, increasing wages, better health care for low income earners. I've never just been a Bernie fan, but this last run he did, I was like, yeah, that's some good shit for regular working people. He was talking about some good shit, and everybody kind of blowed him off. Even him partnering and collaborating with Andrew Yang, Taiwanese guy running. This guy's proposing UBI. Martin Luther King even spoke about UBI. This economy is so bad. Yeah, everybody could. I don't give a fuck how much you make.
Yeah,
you
but he can see
all
whatever he
use an
wants.
extra $500 or $600 every month, no matter what.
Where does the money come from? I mean, that's the reality.
Let me ask you this: you don't just get to bring money. Have you ever been to a Federal Reserve Bank?
Yes. Yes. I've been to a mint as well.
I've been to a Federal Reserve Bank. They print money every fucking day and they run money every day.
So, this side.
So figure it out. The budget will never be balanced for America. It never has been all the way balanced. Tell me one president where our budget in America has been totally balanced.
Well, here's what I think. Here's what I think.
It's never been this unbalanced. Is the point.
Exactly. And this is the one thing I will say. Okay, whether you go far right, far left, you're in the center, doesn't matter. But let's just go far left. When it comes to the people that you would consider, I guess, parasitic, they're smoking reefers all day, they're doing whatever.
That is triggered.
I'm pretty sure they don't exist in Cuba. I mean, they lock up people. I'm pretty sure that, to give Cuba credit, a lot of problems that you might see affect the black community probably do not affect the black community there. Any behavior they consider as being antisocial or against the regime, re-education or which might involve imprisonment, but imprisonment, is also on the table. It's a lot different than the even if it comes to
fucking moron.
But even when it came to the communists, people like to make
you loser.
They had this weird view about them, they were somehow there'd be a utopian outcome with them. But I mean, if you look at how murderous they were, it was just these are some of the most atrocious people. I mean, and I'm speaking of Japan, for example. We may not like it. I don't think that capitalism is a perfect system. I think it's what's been best overall. Nobody can deny that in terms of outcomes. But do I think that there's a lot of exploitation that goes on? That the system is inherently unfair. Yes, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I'm not.
That makes your point about Japan. A lot of things. I had a coworker who was from there. She said in Japan,
Give me all.
she knew a guy that owned an electronics store in downtown Tokyo. He would ride his bike to work every day, park it in front of his store. He didn't even have to lock it. And I guess a tourist lost his wallet with all his money. They mailed it back to his house, all the money intact. That's how safe Japan is.
Yeah, but after working an 18-hour day.
No, that isn't why. It's because if you do break the law, they don't screw around. There's no, I was poor, my parents were poor, don't give me, give me 4 months instead of 12 years. They're like, no, you did the crime, you're going to do this.
That's partially true, but I would say that, like, Howard kind of touched on something where, like, working the 14-hour days, that it is a culture where these people, and they're known to be highly exploited, and they absolutely work their fucking people to death.
No, I mean, we worked till like midnight at year end when we were doing fucking year end accounting, like to your point. And you would look at like midnight, 10, 11 o'clock at night after the department was still working. Because to your point, they don't quit jobs because that's being disloyal. So you look at
You're correct. They have a whole system where, you know, I remember learning about this.
Turns out you just
Probably within the last year, you know, I knew some stuff about their work culture, but people, when they come out of college, they'll get a job at one of these Japanese companies, but they basically end up from 18 to, like, you know, 80 years old and work at that company. Jobs is not really much of a thing in Japan. Which is very foreign to us. I don't know what
they don't quit that way. What they'll say is, we had a vice president who wanted to quit because they had him on like a U.S. rotation and they had him here for 4 years. So they said, he's like, I need to spend more time with my family. So what they did is they put him in kind of like this bullshit position. But it was not like he was quitting because they don't quit. They will keep you there 40 years.
But I would say, listen, what some of the biggest problems that you see with Japan, you can kind of see with the United States and other Western countries. I believe their birth rate is lower than ours, and of course they're a highly urbanized country. They are, you know, it's just like, how conducive of a culture is that to, like, the Japanese people existing? They don't have children. They basically wake up, go to work, wake up, go to work, or go to sleep, wake up, go to work. They don't. So they basically work till they die. For what? What do they pass on? You know, I'm somebody without kids. I don't mean this like in a mean way.
That's their pyramid scheme that they're having, Pepe. Like with their retirement. Like Social Security was cool when you had 42 workers paying in to one person drawing out. Now you have like 6 people drawing out and 1 worker paying in. That's, to your point, the same problem Japan's having with their retirement system because they don't have kids and they have an aging population.
You know, Pepe, I wanted to address your thing about the housing and people not being able to afford housing. If that's okay, because I just looked it up. While the Obama presidency, his goal was to make housing more affordable. So he did 2 things that were significant in that regard. Number 1, the Fed kept the interest rates low. That's a big deal, number 1, because I just looked it up. You know, a house that costs, I put it in the mortgage calculator, the difference in payment for like a loan of $300,000 is $600. If you've got a loan for like $600,000, that's $1,300 difference. That's a big deal. That can make the difference between you qualifying and not qualifying for a loan. And right now, the Fed is not reducing interest rates. So if you've got $1,000 added to your loan payment in interest because of interest rates, you can't afford that home. That's the first thing that is making why people can't afford homes now.
But how much of that was a correction from, you know, 2008 housing bubble where we're getting
No,
subprime
it
loans.
has nothing to do, and that's the thing. It has nothing to do with the housing bubble. There is one reason and one reason alone that inflation goes up. When the government prints more money than it's taking in. And we did it under COVID because everybody was sick and everybody was locked down, and we had the government payments to everybody so that the economy didn't completely collapse. But then right after, what did Biden do? Well, he had the quote Inflation Reduction Act, which printed another $4 trillion. And then, and I won't leave Trump out of this. Then Trump added, has added now another $4 trillion to that. When you print money, it's simple. When you print money, it dilutes the value of the money that's there. That's what
Okay, but I'm going to call bullshit on this. What ended up happening is that when the collapse happened, okay, here in Phoenix, people
which collapse.
2008, 2000.
Yes.
So what ended up happening is that there were
Cool.
homes
Who
being
would have
built
ever guessed?
everywhere.
Yes.
Now, what ended up happening is after that, the construction slowed to a halt, and there was the type of construction you see now is like they're basically building.
Suits.
It's more like basically condos and apartments. Now we have like. I won't get into the homes that are only for rent. They're not for sale. They're popping up everywhere here in Arizona. But we had literally a shortage of housing because they stopped building new houses after the 2008 collapse. And so because they stopped doing that, houses were basically, there was a shortage of housing.
Fine morons.
Especially here in Phoenix. Like literally, during the pandemic, the cost of rent doubled.
Not income. They froze everything.
Oh,
But
okay,
see,
man.
you're talking about there's two separate issues. People being able to find a house is one issue. But once they find that house and they getting approved for the loan is the separate issue. Now, the first issue you're talking about, yes, that can be a problem. It certainly is. But there's the back end of it is that people say, well, I want to buy a house. Okay, the market is a seller's market, so prices are higher. But people were still able to manage that market. Because it's like, okay, I'm paying $50,000 or $40,000 over market value because of demand, but I can still afford it because the interest rates are so low. I
get that part, but
there's also the bigger issue. I think the consumer price index, it's like 1985, is up like 149%, but across the U.S. rent is up 208%. So whether you can afford to buy and own, even if you can't, the cost of rent has significantly outpaced the rate of inflation since 1985, multiple administrations. So it's not a Obama thing, it's not a Bush thing, it's just an overall trend of really crowding out the middle class and the lower middle class from affordable homeowning.
But what makes a home affordable? I won't dispute that, Howard. But what makes someplace affordable?
Oh, great, man.
Are you familiar?
It has to be
More
built.
threats like last
Are you
time.
also familiar with a company? I think they're out of. I don't know if
it was a rhetorical question because.
But known as RealPage. Do you know who RealPage is?
Ballot in March, man.
No, I've never heard.
Matt
Okay, it's a technology company
Oh, great,
that
Matt. More threats like last time.
I know a little bit about this industry from being in it, but big property management companies across the country, a lot of them, not every single one, but a lot of them use RealPage. And basically, it's like an AI app. It's an algorithm that determines how to optimize rents by market. And now there's a class action suit here in Phoenix where they're being sued basically for market fixing, price fixing on rent. That is also contributing to the overall increase in the rate of rent outpacing inflation. Part of it is also optimizing the technology that's now available to these large management companies, property management companies in the apartment industry.
Yeah, okay, and here and right there,
I
I will concede that they do that. I will not argue that point. And I'm sure they're doing it. The problem is, and this has been an issue in California, and I actually went to a city meeting where they discussed this. Most of the property is not owned by these management companies. I forget the exact name.
That's true.
And that's so the idea that all these, that the evil corporations are trying to, they're the ones, that's why we can afford housing. Not only is that a false narrative, at one of these meetings, this one guy had done the research, and what he found out is during the pandemic and to this day, property owners and landlords have actively worked to keep their rents down. And the only, when they raised them was when the local cities threatened to enact rent control. Then they were like, oh my God, there's going to be rent control. My insurance is going up. My property taxes are going up. I better get in that rent increase now before they enact this rent control. So it's actually, I don't know about Phoenix, but in California, yeah, people have been actively trying to keep it down. It's only when the government says, "Oh no, there's this, we gotta fix this problem."
But who are the NIMBYs? But it's the NIMBYs. Yeah, but it's like, and this is where, like, when it comes to a lot of the quote unquote liberals, these NIMBYs who, when it comes to the zoning laws, they preach one thing, but they do it something completely different when it comes to preserving their wealth and making it so housing is more affordable. They want it to be so that they can maintain the equity in their home. It continues to go up. Other people around them cannot, have affordable housing. And so, and I would say that I would say every generation after the boomers got hit pretty hard by this. But I would say the Zoomers are getting hit.
I'll try to jump back in later.
All right, no worries.
Well, look, the other part of this I was going to say is, and this was significant too in terms of what Obama did. The ACA, Obamacare. A lot of people complain that it got more expensive, and it did. But it also got cheaper for a lot of people. And if you're paying, hang on, if you're paying, and I remember my costs for healthcare at that time, I was paying $800 a month. And when it kicked in, that went down $500 a month because of the tax credits and payments, et cetera, That's, again, that is a significant amount of money. If you're paying $500 a month less for your health care costs and the interest rates are down around 3 or 4%, that makes housing a hell of a lot more affordable for everyone. So, I just came up to say that. And last thing I'll say is it's everybody in their 20s. The 20s is all about, you're now out of college, You're now in the real world. You're not coddled by your parents. You're not coddled by your college. You're out there in the real world. You got to survive on your own. And everybody in their 20s is scared shitless. But you will manage. And yeah, you're not going to be able to buy a house when you're 24 like the boomers did or the people before the boomers did. No, you won't. It will take you about 10 years to get established, to get financially secure. Now, there are people who will jump ahead and there are people who will lag behind. But it takes about 10 years for you to build up a career or a job and to get a salary to where you can start saving money and you can and you'll be able to afford a home. And it's not just now, that's the way it's always been for most people. So,
but that's not the way it's been for most people, because like most people, I mean, we can look at first-time homebuyers before the age of 30, and we can look at when people are first having children. There is absolutely a problem. Like, I don't see how you can deny that point. Well, we're literally committing demographic suicide, just like Japan and Korea are.
Yeah, and look, I can't argue with the stats. Hell, I'm the one who's always talking about stats, with other issues. So I can't argue against that. I mean, and I don't have any data to prove what I'm going to say, but we're also in a consumer, economy. So I see this now. Yeah, they get out of college. What are they doing? On of their disposable income instead of saving it. And you can't do it so that by the time they're, how much have they saved? Do they have a down payment? I don't think so. Now that's me. I have no data on that, but that is my guess. If you want to buy a house, you have to save money because you need to be a good qualified owner. You have to have good credit, and you got to have that 20%. And then you got to have good income for 2 years on your tax return, because that income, they average it, and that determines how much of a loan they're going to give you. That's the quick answer.
Yeah, but I would say when with Generation Z, which I'll call Zoomers, when they cannot afford houses, we can look at, I'm 1 year away from being Generation X. I'm technically a millennial.
Mom, why don't you go squeeze the juice out
I
your
don't
bag,
even
you
know why I'm
trash.
talking to you.
I do think that they've been given the shaft. I'm just being honest. Like, I think that as much as one of the things that I kind of think is invigorating is I hear these younger Generation Z people, and they're like so like fucking. I wouldn't say all of them. They're either like really far left or really far right. But I see this resurgence, and it's just like, wow, dude, holy shit, that's amazing. But for you to say that, like, that they would be able to, and I'm talking about middle class children, or people who grew up in middle class neighborhoods, they absolutely could not afford homes like previous generations, and you can't deny that. And the biggest bone I have to pick with conservatives is over that. Like, I want to see like future generations actually inherit something, to actually live the fucking American dream.
Man,
And when it comes to like Republicans today, it is such a trash party. The Democrats have been trash for a while.
losers. Okay, this is Pepe Mom, Brad, Matt, losers. Just had it out in the chat. She rage quit, kicked me out of the room. Glorious ending to trolling them. I wouldn't even call it trolling. I would call it accurately describing them. So, here we are. This is candidate Congressman John Kitover. Hope you enjoy this room. We're going to find out if any of these losers want to come in and talk their shit. We'll stir the pot and play the game. I don't know if anybody will come, though, because I got no clout on this room anymore. It's kind of funny. I actually, past a lot of people now. I could care less if I ever talk to any of these people ever. And I never really cared to begin with, but it's just so abundantly clear. Today really set a standard in terms of conversations and communication. I'm not trying to self-center myself, but the truth is having conversations with Pepe and many other people is a complete and total waste of time. So here we are. I don't know if I'd call this a waste of time, but anyways, this is the way it goes.